Yes, yes. Welcome into the unofficial post-game show for Game 3 of the National League Championship Series. One of the most disappointing Cardinal performances in an NLCS, with the series still on the line at the very least, that I can recall in my years of watching Cardinal baseball, with a pretty decent memory of going back to 1985. Um, there's one play that stands out to me actually from this whole thing, and I know that you can pick the disaster that is the Cardinal offense, and we'll certainly spend some time on this. But I thought the play where the ball got away from Molina and he kind of moved casually to the backstop and Flaherty's body language dipped was just not what I would expect from those two guys. Dexter Fowler striking out, par for the course. The Cardinal offense doing nothing, par for the course. But that stood out to me. That really surprised me. And you know what? The game wasn't out of reach at that point. If I'm not mistaken, it was a 2-0 game, and those runners then advanced to second and third. That was just odd to me. Um, and candidly, if I'm a fan, even though I'm sure most people probably had already moved on and have already moved on in this thing, that was something that that's not characteristic of Yadier Molina. Ron Darling, if I'm not mistaken, called attention to that, and to see Flaherty's shoulders slump, that was surprising. But the bottom line is they're just not hitting, and it's been the case for the entire series. And barring a huge surprise, this will be quite reminiscent of the 2004 World Series, in which the Cardinals were swept and never held a lead. Unlike the 2004 World Series, the Cardinals did score in that one, but in this one, it's just. I remember being in the clubhouse following the sweep by the Red Sox in 2004, and I don't want to make it come off the wrong way, but I've been in clubhouses where they lost NLDSs, and there were guys that were crying. In that one, I remember Walt Jocketty kind of cracking a joke. It was light because it was painless. You knew it was coming. I would imagine we will see this time tomorrow night. They just don't have it. The Nationals do, and it's incredibly disappointing to see this go down the way it is, to say the very least. Now I know people are going to be angry, and I'm a sitting duck for this stuff because I've seen it all night on social media. But hey, if it helps you to vent, then God bless America. Participate in the fun and games. We are on Facebook at the Tim McKernan Show and on the TMA fan page, and we are on Twitter at T McKernan and on the Inside STL channel on YouTube. Let's see what we got here. I will start on the TMA fan page. Here, I'll make it simple for you. The front office takes 100% of the blame. That's from Mark. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, so I don't want to butcher it. This team is taking a cue from his manager after he completely mismanaged the first two games of the series. This team gave up tonight. That's from Tony Regent. Let's see what else. Gene Bonds, not even competitive, which is the most disappointing. And I'll go into the YouTube and the Periscope. Dude, I thought the same thing, and that was going to be my question. I guess you're making reference to the Molina Flaherty play. Again, I mean, I'm not making that out to be the reason they lost. I mean, you can pick 50 reasons they lost. But that just surprised me. If it happened when it was 7-0, the game wasn't over that. But that just wasn't Yadier Molina, and that just wasn't Jack Flaherty, and that was surprising to me. And in a way, I hesitate to even lead with it, because then it puts more importance on it than really my mind has. I mean, they're just dreadful offensively. What was it? 15 strikeouts, 16 strikeouts when it was all said and done. 3 walks in the series, not in the game, in the series. I mean, it's part of the fun of playoff baseball is debating strategy, and the Cardinals have now lost how many games? 5 games, and minus Game 3 of the NLDS, there really hasn't been that much strategy to debate. Listen, I'm totally against what went on Saturday, with Adam Wainwright staying in there. It was a repeat of the flaw of Acuna and Albies and Wainwright staying in there in Game 3 in the Braves series. But, I mean, when it gets down to it here, this is, the strategy only takes you so far when the offense is performing like it is. it's brutal. There's just not a whole lot to debate. I would have liked to have seen more changes in the lineup. Jose Martinez has, every time he has gotten up in this series, put on the best at bats, and even when he makes outs, he makes the pitchers work. He's the only guy doing it. So it shows that it can be done. I mean, that at bat he had on Saturday in Game 2 was incredible before Michael Taylor misplayed the ball into a double. But he was grinding in that 10-pitch at bat. He had a few of those tonight. That was impressive. That was the closest thing we got to a charge tonight. Just incredible. Just candidly, just really kind of taken aback by how lifeless they are. That surprises me. Losing to the Nationals wouldn't have surprised me. The way it's set up, it was going to be a problem. But this could have never forecast this. So I welcome you to vent because I'm sure many of you want to. Can you compare Ozuna getting caught in the rundown with Jeff Suppan in 2004? Same type of feel. That's from Ryan Kemp. I disagree on that, although in fairness, I got to take myself back 15 years. I don't know. I mean, it's second and third. Yeah, I mean, if you get a run, it changes the complexion of the game. I don't remember the exact circumstances of Suppan's. If it was in Game 3 or 4, I would imagine it was probably Game 3, but I don't know that for sure. I know it wasn't in Boston, so it couldn't have been 1 or 2. Yeah, if you get a run to take the lead in this thing, it can change the complexion of the game. But I don't know. I just feel like they're so out of these things that it's brutal. Keep Fowler and Wong 1-2. Same result, different day. Agree. I would have liked to have seen a change there. I knew it wasn't going to happen. Actually, by the way he was talking, it sounded like Derek Gould, Chris Raby, and Jimmy the Cat Hayes didn't think there were going to be huge changes either. I would imagine there'll be big changes tomorrow. I would have liked to have seen this tonight. I figured it wasn't going to happen, but this is his philosophy, and it's quite frustrating. Let's see. A whole off season of Dex had a bounce back season. I disagree, Ben. I don't think you're going to hear that. Let's see what else we got. Lineup tomorrow, I would anticipate randomness. I hope there's randomness. I mean, it'd be fun if they won tomorrow, get a sweat. I don't think they're going to play Wednesday either way. One reason is they could lose. The other reason is it's going to rain like crazy in Washington. So then you could have a weird spot with having games, should the Cardinals pull off a miracle and win 2 in a row, where you'd have games back to back to back, should this thing go 7. How many of you are giving it that chance? Let's see. Martinez can't hit in all 9 spots. That's from D. Hudson. Bader is not a spark. He can't hit bad pitching. Well, I'm not saying Bader's a spark. I'm just telling you I think that you're going to see changes all over the place tomorrow. I'm not saying it's because it's a spark. Yeah, Dexter Fowler's at-bats were just brutal. Just absolutely brutal. Do I expect Dexter Fowler to sit tomorrow? Yes. I don't know how that can't happen. I would have liked to have seen it tonight, but I didn't think it was going to happen tonight. Isn't this the lineup you talked about wanting this morning? No, it is not, Ray. So if you want to do that little social media troll game, you're in the wrong spot. I said I wanted to see him make as many changes as possible. I wanted to see Jose Martinez in there, but I wanted to see more. And I also when I'm on the radio, I'm not going to say asinine things are going to happen if I don't think asinine things are going to happen. I didn't think he was going to do it. I didn't think he was going to do much of it following our conversation with Jim Hayes and Chris Raby and Derek Gould's coverage of it yesterday, which was because we kept harping on, well, this is the same team that got 10 runs against the Braves. And it's like, if you look at now, how many innings of postseason baseball do we have? I think it's at 73 because you have 8 games and you have 1 extra inning. So 8 times 9 plus 1. And they've had 2 innings where they've had a big offensive outburst. Top of the 9th in Game 1 against the Braves and top of the 1st in Game 5 against the Braves. Otherwise, you have 71 innings of baseball in which this team, including against the Braves, has not done much offensively. I think they put up a quote-unquote crooked number in the bottom of the 1st of Game 4, if I'm not mistaken, against the Braves. But that was back-to-back home runs. There just haven't been rallies. And that's because the offense isn't good enough in order to get the rallies. See what we got here. Weird thought. How much is the city still in the afterglow of the Stanley Cup Championship buying the team cover? Have to think the city would be losing its mind if the Blues flame out per usual. That's from Carpe Donnelly. Don't get trying nothing different offensively. Guys not hitting with the Nats still shifting. At what point do you consider bunting for a hit? Get a runner on, and maybe you can get something going. That's from D. Green was not 21. From BJ Rains. Problem for the Cardinals is they need a major offensive upgrade in the offseason, but don't really have many positions they can upgrade at. Yeah, they're tied in. They're locked in. I mean, the Matt Carpenter extension is, I can't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out then. Can't figure it out now. Fowler has 2 more years. What are you going to do? And one of the 2 guys who had been hitting, and he had a couple hits tonight, along with a terrible misplay, which allowed that 3rd inning to continue, is Ozuna. And I would guess I would put 30% that he comes back to the Cardinals. So then you're going to have to replace that as well. Hello, I am watching you from Syria. That's from Yasin Yassar. Let's see, I'll go back into the TMA fan page. In the Braves series in Game 1, Fowler at least was hitting it hard. Game 2 and tonight he looks as lost as Bader. He hit it hard in Game 4 of the Braves series, and he had a double, if I'm not mistaken, in Game 5 when everybody was hitting in the 1st inning. But since then he hasn't done anything. 5 of 8 games, the Cardinals have scored 0 or 1 run. I can handle losing, but frustrating to see them overmatched and little being done to shape things up. I agree. I wanted to see he could have put out anything tonight, and I would have been in favor of it. And what does it say? And a lot of fans would say, well, we were saying this before he did it, that the best at-bats were taken by Jose Martinez. It makes you go, what if? Because it's not like they were blown out in games 1 and 2. What if? Because Jose Martinez, even when he's making outs, he's having great at-bats. Who else is having great at-bats? And I'm talking about at-bats where they're up there and they're battling. I mean, this looks like kind of like an A-ball team going up against a major league team offensively right now. And the thing is, it's not limited to these 3 games. It's not like, keep in mind what the first 7 innings were like against the Braves in Game 1. Keep in mind what it was like the entirety of Game 2, the entirety of Game 3, minus the 1 run. And you had 2 home runs from Goldschmidt and Ozuna in the first inning of Game 4, and Ozuna home run, and then Molina's ball that was off Freeman's glove, and then Molina's sac fly. Then the 10-run outburst. That's it, man. That's amazing. They've played 8 games, and I was just able to rattle off their runs. I mean, this is something else. Let's see. Fewest runs in an LCS is currently up on TBS. Let's see. 1990 Red Sox. They scored a total of 4 runs. Wow, we might see history tomorrow. And they got swept by the A's, who then were swept by the Reds. 1970 Pirates scored 3 runs. That was a best-of-5 series. They were swept by the Reds. The 1983 White Sox scored 3 runs, and they lost the series 3-1. Wow, they actually won a game scoring a total of 3 runs. And they lost the series in a best-of-5 to Baltimore 3-1. That was a Tony La Russa team. 2019, the Cardinals could set the record if they do not score a run tomorrow against Patrick Corbin. That is something else. That is absolutely something else. I mean, we knew the offense was anemic. I never really bought into the Python offense because I never really felt like it was all or nothing. I felt like you might get a little, but more often than not, it was you have to win with 2 or 3 runs if you're lucky. Let's see. Ozuna is your best player at the plate in these playoffs. Yeah, body of work, I would absolutely agree. If you're just going to isolate it on the best at bats in the NLCS, I would say Jose Martinez. That is from Michael Bibbs. Jimmy Patrick, why is Carpenter so bad? Skills waning, eyesight on the decline. I cannot explain it. It's really brutal to watch. Tim, you were bullish on the Nats going into the postseason. Has the flow of the series confirmed your hunch, or are they surprising you? I was bullish on the Nats. Thank you, Joe Edward, for remembering that. In September, at the very least, it's always nice when these things are on the radio because they're archived. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. And if you look at the Nationals being, what were they, 12 games below 500, 50 games into the season, they have the best record in baseball since that point. Now, I know it's a convenient point, but still, it's over 112 games. And then in the postseason, they had to beat the Brewers and they had to beat the Dodgers, and now they're just beating the hell out of the Cardinals. So when people were drawing parallels between the Blues and the Cardinals, I was like, I mean, I guess we're just going to do this anytime a team makes a surge, but the difference between the Blues in 2019 and the Cardinals in 2019 is when the Blues were entering the playoffs, there was a sustained period of time that they were the best team in hockey. They just didn't wind up with the best record, okay, because it started on January 3rd. With the Nationals, there's been a sustained period of time that they've been the best team in baseball, but because they started off so poorly, it flew under the radar, and yet they still won 93 games despite only having won 19 of their first 50. The thing that surprised me after the first two games, I'm kind of like, man, their lineup, just for having some offense where they would have big outbursts, their lineup didn't really do a whole lot for me. You see what Robles does tonight. That's one of the factors that was missing, although Taylor hit a home run on Saturday, which is still one of the great phenomena of the whole thing. And then tonight it broke free. But again, it broke free because of Cardinal defensive miscues. How many times in this series have we seen the Cardinals hit a ball hard? Period. I mean, I don't know if you can count them with needing more than two hands. And then of those balls, how many times have we seen Rendon or Eaton or Kendrick or Zimmerman make a diving play and keep it from leading to a rally? Whereas the Cardinals have Ozuna sliding and letting the ball bounce off his glove, pass ball, wild pitch, whatever it was ruled, and Molina can't make the play. And it just, the Nationals are beating them, but the Cardinals are also beating themselves, and that's the thing that's disappointing. And for it to be this historic, it's so bad. I think, assuming that it were to end tomorrow night, and I would say that's got to be in the 75 percentile range. Assuming that it ends tomorrow night, and assuming that the offense is brutal again, which I would say is also in the likely category. Unfortunately, unless you just have a bunch of guys. I mean, unless you have like Mike Matheny's ninth inning against the Giants and the Travis Ishikawa thing, where you just looked out at the field and you go, "Oh my God, who's playing where and why are they there?" Like Matt Adams was like a shortstop or something by the time that thing happened. It was all over the place. I don't know if he'll do that. I don't know. I don't know if he'll do it tomorrow. I think he will. But I also think such a big thing with Mike Schilt, which is why I didn't think there would be huge changes after talking to the Cat and Raby and reading Derek Gould's reporting, and Ben Fredrickson and Benjamin Hockman's reporting in the Post-Dispatch, is he's got this, these are the guys who got me there and I'm not going to mess with it. And God, I just keep going back to, I know I've said it a million times for all of you who've been watching the Unofficial Postgame show, but the 2006 NLCS when Tony La Russa benched Scott Rowland, it was a transformative moment. In the 2011 NLCS, NLDS actually is when it started, where he started going, you know what? I know you guys got us here, even though you're Edwin Jackson, Kyle Loesch, and Jaime Garcia, but my responsibility is to act in the best interest of the team and give us the best chance to win. And I got to pull you guys after the second or third inning now. I got to do it. And that's going to give us the best chance to win. You can't tell me that this lineup tonight gave you the best chance to win. You can't. Maybe it's endearing to your guys, but it doesn't give you the best chance to win. And that's why it's kind of, you're watching it and you're kind of like, when Ozuna got a hit, it's like, whoa, he got a hit. And when he got caught off second base, which by the way, I know everybody was pissed off about it. I don't really know what he could have done there if you watch the play, but I'm not even going to get into it because I'll start getting attacked. But it was a comebacker right to Strasburg. Point being, the Cardinals just don't do anything offensively, and they have terrible at-bats. They're not even grinding at-bats. The only time I like to watch them right now is when Martinez is at the plate, because at least he grinds. It's rough, man. Let's see. What else do we have here? John Edwards, simply embarrassing. GB Gunther, Mabry is smiling. Joe Jackson, what would you think most probable move or moves happen in upcoming off-season? I would think that they are going to try to get Rendon. I don't know if that means that they will get Rendon, but I would think that I think it's a weird spot that you're watching this guy vanquish you, and then you're going to try and get him. But that's what I think is going to wind up happening. I don't know what they can do elsewhere on the field where it would be an impact play, unless it would be Castellanos, because he has played third and he has played outfield. But I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do at shortstop? You have Matt Carpenter's money. I think they might. I was reading Derek Gould's chat today. Might try him in left field. Uh, uh, I mean, it's tough because you can be excited about the pitching. Certainly can be excited about the pitching. I don't really know how you can't be excited about the starting pitching. But what do you see that makes you go, I'm going to be excited about the offense? That is something that you can't get excited about. Let me go back into the YouTube and the Periscope chats. Tim, going off what you said about Rendon, I will say he looks awfully chipper with guys like Goldschmidt and DeYoung. I noticed you said that the other night when you left the game. Yeah, I mean, it could be an absolute nothing. But I've just noticed that. It could be nothing. I think Rendon's personality is similar to Goldschmidt's. He's a baseball guy. He isn't going to be grabbing his cock when he takes a ball in the dirt. It's not his game. So this market and this team may fit him. I don't know. I mean, then you go, well, will the Cardinals actually really make a hard run at him? That's the point where you go, I don't know. But of all the people out there, to me, that's the one, the big one anyway, that makes the most sense. Let's see. Matt Carpenter in left. Yes, Derek Gould's chat today. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying he was saying that might be a possibility next year. Derek Gould's chat on stltoday.com. If it wouldn't have stood out to me, trust me, I wouldn't have said it because I was reading it and I was going, oh my God. Let's see. I want to make sure I read more. Maybe Matheny will get Kansas City to trade for Matt Carpenter. That comes from BJ Rains. Daddy Padre says Fowler cannot bat leadoff again tomorrow. I would be shocked if he does. I anticipated changes. The Jose Martinez, what I anticipated leaving the game on Saturday is what happened, but I was hoping for more. And so I said that with a 95% certainty, but I was hopeful for more. On the other side of it, tomorrow I would put it with I'll go 95% certainty that Dexter Fowler is not in the lineup, and I feel like I might be pushing it here. I might be being a little aggressive. I might be on a flush draw, but have all kinds of outs. Whereas with Martinez, I was as confident as I could be in something without being 100%. I just think you have to. What do you have to lose? And if Dexter Fowler holds that against you, then too bad, man. Your responsibility is to give your team the best chance to win. It's just the performance has been so disappointing. I mean, they looked lifeless out there. God, they looked lifeless out there. That just, when I'm thinking of Cardinal postseason, when the games end, there hasn't been one like this since, unless I'm missing an obvious one, and please refresh my memory. I guess you could say Game 7 against the Braves in '96. The one that stands out to me more is Game 7, '85 against the Royals, because I think the Braves were in a different stratosphere than the Cardinals, and they kind of righted the ship after Eckersley taunted them following Game 4. I don't think the Royals were in a different category than the Cardinals, but they were coming off that disaster in Game 6. So this was just, listen, man, it wasn't, that's the thing. The Braves went up 6-0 on a Tom Glavine triple in '96 in Game 7. You're down 2-0 in the series, and it was 2-0 when that ball went past Molina, and the guys are just like, it was 4-0. 4-0 in Strasburg at a pretty high pitch count for where most pitchers have been against the Cardinals in the postseason. I was kind of surprised to see it. And then he got into, he kind of then was able to cruise. By the way, I don't know what the hell he was doing out there in the 7th inning. I realize the chance of the Cardinals coming back are quite slim, but what was that about? I couldn't believe, of course, the Cardinals didn't do anything with it, but I was like, what is he still doing out there? Let's see. Schilt is Matheny 2.0 this series. That comes from Chusted on YouTube. We've seen this story before. The only thing missing is Waka coming in tomorrow in the 8th inning. His reasoning for leaving Wainwright in on Saturday, that he earned that opportunity, was an unfortunate answer. because that does remind me of a Matheny answer. And my God, I get it if a guy is at 4 2/3, I guess, even though I don't really get it, but I'll play along that in April, and you want to get him the win. I guess that was a Matheny move. But in the 8th inning of a 1-run game in Game 2 of the NLCS, what in the world, man? Wow, that was bad. But still, my personal favorite is leaving Wainwright in to face Acuna and Albies. I mean, that was that was the take your the McCann intentional walk, whatever you want to pick. The leaving Wainwright in Acuna and Albies was something else. Victor Conlon says, need a lineup change. Victor, I think you're going to get it tomorrow. Schultz seems to worry too much about egos when changing the lineup. I don't know what to make of this outside of I think you will see a drastically different lineup tomorrow. I think. Mainly because there's a left-handed pitcher out there. Let's see. Does Edman have a solidified spot on the roster next season? I would say it's likely. Just because they're going to have holes and he's going to need to fill one of them. Maddox with 2 hole-in-ones in 1 round, 67 million to 1. I don't buy it. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you on that. I don't know why they would make that up. I'm glad they're keeping the emotional investment low. My pessimism is high. That's from Garrett Wisher. Yeah, as I said, for me personally as a fan and also covering the team in 2001, I was like devastated when they lost Game 5 to the Diamondbacks, and I was covering it. I was out in Phoenix. 2002, I wasn't covering it, but watching it on TV when they lost to the Giants in Game 5. What else? 2005 was pretty rough, but that game wasn't really close when it was all said and done, and they were down 3-1 in the series. You'd kind of been mentally preparing for it until Pujols home run off a ledge. 2009 was a big surprise, and it was painful because they should have evened the series at 1 when Holiday dropped that ball. And then 2012 was brutal, being up 3-1. 2013, the fact that Johnny Gomes and David Ross beat you was pretty brutal. 2014 was just hideously mismanaged. In 2015, I didn't think they were the better team, but still you still had a 1-0 lead in the series and a chance to go up 2-0 before Jaime Garcia threw a ball away. So this one is just this is worse than the 2004 one with the Red Sox. This is just an absolute, just a steamroller. I mean, part of me is like, I'm anxious to see how they come out tomorrow, but honestly, I'm not. I'm just being dishonest if I say that. I'll have the game on, but I anticipate it kind of being a foregone conclusion. Yeah, I don't know. So then from a betting standpoint, it's like I would imagine the Nationals will be, God, I get up so damn early, and I'm bored by these fucking games. I would imagine the Nationals will be like minus 150 to 165 straight up on the money line. So then emotional risk management is tough, but there's really no emotion to risk at this point. I would love to have some emotion to risk. That means they got back in the series. But they were showing the statistic on TBS about teams that lose the first 3, and I think since the advent of the LCS is in a best of 7, I think, and how so many of them end in sweeps, then a bunch get down in 5, and then they rarely get to 6 or 7. So you have the 2004 Red Sox, but this offense doesn't mimic the 2004 Red Sox unless all hell breaks loose, and they're just like, I wonder what the numbers are. I doubt it's out yet on the Cardinals to win the series, if you just want to throw it on there. Can't wait for your STL Chargers postgame streams in the 2022 playoffs. It's from Thomas Higgins. Has there been a wellness check on the Khaki Smoke Show? He's not going to be any good to you tomorrow. Yeah, poor Doug, man. He's on TV, and he was on TV till like midnight last night. At least I just go upstairs and go to bed. Cardinals' lack of offense on a national scale. Does this finally force upper management during the offseason to finally open their wallets? Yeah, this narrative, Brian, I mean, 2 off seasons ago, they traded for Marcell Ozuna, and last offseason they traded for Paul Goldschmidt, and then they signed him to an extension. So, man, this thing is, I can't humor you and go, yeah, good one, send more Send more voicemails into 101. I can't humor that. It's because it's factually inaccurate. So that's not my thing. They traded for Marcelo Zuna. They traded for Paul Goldschmidt, and they spent a bunch of money to sign him to a long-term contract. So respectfully, if that's your opinion, that's cool. I just have to say that factually, I think it's inaccurate. Let's see. I feel. Yeah, let's see what I'm saying. Molina looks disinterested. How he handled that pass ball was certainly weird. Let's see. Anything else, boys? We've gone about a half hour on this. There just isn't much to say. This sucks. I really enjoy kind of talking about strategy, but it's minus 176, I'm being told, by GK Sylvie from Twitter Periscope chat. Minus 176 is steep. I don't know. I don't know on that. I don't know if I can drop. I don't know if I can drop 2 to 1. Thanks for doing these things, Tim. I wish you had some good things to talk about, but I appreciate you, brother. That's from Adam Lucky Johnson, friends down in Tennessee. Thank you, sir. Yeah, man, I love debating strategy, and I love going back and forth with people, assuming we're operating off the same game and facts. If we see it differently, we see it differently. But what in the hell what can you even debate? I mean, there was really only one piece of strategic disagreement in this series so far, and it was Wainwright being left in there to face Eaton on Saturday. Other than that, they're just getting worked over, So there's just not much to say. I mean, it'd be great if somehow we get to that point and we get a sweat, but God, I mean, minus 176. See, the thing is, like, I can bet whatever and be very confident the Nationals are going to win, but if the Cardinals win, I'll be like, oh crap, they still got to win 3 more to make it matter, and and I've just lost whatever at minus 176, basically $2 for every $1 I'm winning. So I don't know if I can do that. So ideally, maybe the Cardinals can get up 2-0. Then I can live bet and make an emotional risk management play. Thanks for doing this, Tim. Always love your insight. That's from Ken Collick. My pleasure. Yeah, man, I'm sorry that these really aren't. I love talking baseball strategy. I really do. I don't know what the hell to say about this. It's just so fucking horrible. In the sense, not like I'm emotional about it. I'm just like, the only reason I'm doing it is because I said I was going to do it. Because at like 9 o'clock, I get up at 5:30. At 9 o'clock, I'm going, God, I just want to go up to bed. But, I told people I was going to do them, and so I got to do them. Even though I recognize most people at this point are more interested in talking, like I've seen in the chat, about the Chargers. So, yeah, rough day. St. Louis sports. Blues up 2-0 with like 5 minutes. I was watching that. Didn't even think that was going to be a sweat. Then it became a sweat, and then they lose in overtime, and then you have the Cardinals with a no-show tonight. Yeah, I was hoping for more changes in the lineup. I like that he moved him up, moved Martinez up to 5. Initially, he was hitting 6th. But I would have liked to have seen more. I would like to see Edman at the top. I mean, I'll just rattle off a lineup that I'd like to see. I don't know if we'll get it. God, I don't know. I definitely want to see Edman at the top of the lineup. I got to try to actually do this and balance it out with switch right, left. So I guess he would go Edman, Wong, Goldschmidt, Ozuna, Martinez. Okay, now what do we have left? We have DeYoung, Molina, and I'd love it to be a Rosarina. I'd go DeYoung after Martinez. I know that might freak some people out. I just want him to have somebody hitting behind him, and then Molina, and then a Rosarina. Or maybe go with the pitcher and then a Rosarina, and then do the old La Russa 2 leadoff men thing. I'd like to see that. I really would. I mean, just, at this point, just like, okay, he's got 95% of the chips. I've got 5% of the chips. Whatever. I've got 10-8 suited, all in. Just see what we can do. There's my first and only poker analogy, the broadcast. Let's see. All right, we'll shut this thing down. I have enjoyed talking with you guys. Sorry the games have just really been so... I mean, at least in those series where they lost the first 2 to the Giants in 2002 and the Mets in 2000, they won Game 3. In this case, I mean, this thing's just going to... I mean, a week ago today, we were all on a high after Game 4, and a week later, it's like, man, this thing is over. Not only is it over, I think you feel worse about it right now than you would if the Cardinals would have lost in Game 5 against the Braves. There's a take. I'm discovering my take about ready to go to bed at 10:40 at night. I think that's the case, actually. I'm going to stand by that. Martin Kilcoyne, discovering opinion on the air guy. That's me right now. I really do. I think if the Cardinals lose like 5-4 against the Braves in Game 5, you would feel better going into the offseason than this disaster. But, here we are. And it's just, whenever it comes to an end, assuming that it comes to an end, it'll be, relatively speaking, painless. But fans will be keeping a very close eye on the activity this offseason with regard to where they can improve the offense. I mean, when you have Flaherty and Hudson and Michaelis, and I don't know how they're going to handle Carlos Martinez. I have no idea what they're going to do there. Whether he be in the rotation, whether he be in the bullpen, or whether he be on another team. And if I mentioned Adam Wainwright, and I imagine he's back on an incentive-laden contract, you have some damn good starting pitching. So you got to get that starting pitching some offense. And as BJ Raines mentioned earlier, the problem is they're kind of committed to two guys who at this point are just major declining assets. Carpenter in particular, Fowler to a lesser extent, but his performance here in this series makes it puts it under the magnifying glass. So the DeYoung thing is a concern. I'd like to think that will bounce back. I don't really think you have a choice. So and you kind of hitched your wagon to you hitched your wagon to Harrison Bader and traded Tommy Pham away, and you saw that take steps back. So, and while Yadier Molina won Game 4 of the NLDS, Yadier Molina's body of work offensively in the postseason has been very poor. That's why I was happy to see Schilt move Martinez up and Molina down, because Yadier Molina is not a threat to do much offensively, especially from a power standpoint. Cardinals, I mean, you had, I think in the second inning of Game 1, you had Ozuna's ball to the warning track, and then that was it. That's it. That's all you've gotten. So, I mean, it just isn't there. Maybe they'll shock the world, huh? Anyway, thank you all for hanging out. Looking forward to talking it over tomorrow, and maybe we'll be talking about a win and then conning ourselves into thinking that we'll see this thing back in St. Louis on Friday. And then all of a sudden we can get a sweat. Or maybe it will come to an end in a rather blasé fashion. We shall see. Thank you all for joining me here on the Unofficial Postgame Show. My name's Tim McKernan. Thank you for watching.